Dr. Pepper started in 1885 by this guy, a man whose face looked like it was stretched out over the course of a decade every single night before he went to sleep. This is going to be a neutral view based off of their products, their annual report, and some other news too. Speaking of news, they had a merger in July of 2018. They mixed in the Dr. Pepper Snapple Group, a mouthful, for $18.7 billion and took on the new name Keurig Dr. Pepper. By the way, it is really a mouthful to say Keurig Dr. Pepper every single time, so I'll just say some variation of KDP, Pepper, Mr. Pepper, Dr. Pepper, Keurig. They're becoming a company that's pretty similar to Nestle. They have the coffee and also just a line of drinks. Hopefully though, they don't pick up the ethical issues, let's put it like that. Dr. Pepper owns, surprise surprise, Dr. Pepper. They did beat out Pepsi to become the second most popular drink in America, and hey, props to them. But they are still way behind the GOAT, Coca-Cola. They're leading by a mile. Before I start listing out the brands, you guys should know one thing. A lot of these aren't wholly owned by Keurig Dr. Pepper. Some of them are owned by other companies, for example, a company called Schweppes. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. In the US and Canada, Keurig Dr. Pepper licenses it out and sells it there. But pretty much everywhere else in the world, it's either by Coke or Pepsi. Welcome to Adam's opinionated and biased review. Ginger ale, a classic. You can't go wrong with it. 7-Up, it's an OG, but I don't really see it in as many places as I used to. Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. This is a brand that they had for a while back. This is even before the merger. And they make coffee for K-Cups. Not really my thing. Snapple. The last choice for juice. Mott's. My personal last choice for juice. I can't really imagine liquid apple tasting good. Clamato. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but hey, good in cocktails alone, yuck. Core Hydration. Water. Plus. They bought it for $500 million. Evian. Water. Plus, but from a spring. Hawaiian Punch. You can't really go wrong with that. And Crush, my personal favorite soda. The orange one especially. This one is and also isn't a drink, but it's still the GOAT. The Keurig brewing system. The coffee that this thing makes is a 7.1 out of 10, but the thing is, it's fast. It's low effort. You need to add a lot of sugar, but it tastes fine once you do. If anyone is wondering, yes, I do use this daily and I am also a coffee addict. The total revenue for this year was $14.8 billion. Breaking it down by category, the US refreshment beverages is $8.8 billion, and that's a pretty big bump up from last year. They face competition from Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle, and some other brands too. By the way, I'm going to list up all the brands under the companies that I mentioned earlier, so you get an idea of who exactly they're competing against. By the way, if you see the same brand under multiple different companies, just know that some of them do license out brands to different regions, to different companies. These are the 2022 figures. Of the top 10, they own ginger ale and Dr. Pepper. They have a pretty small portion of the pie, but the question is, do you think that slice is going to get bigger, shrink, or is the pie just overall going to just increase in size a little bit? The US coffee segment had a slight bump down to $4.1 billion from $4.3 billion last year. That's due to the sales physical, like the count of K-Cup pods going down by 5.1%, and the appliances, the actual like coffee machines, by the way, they don't sell like dining tables out here. That part is down 10%. The international segment is up $250 million and is now at $1.9 billion worth of revenue. Looking at their revenue split geographically, you can see that they're pretty concentrated in the United States of America. 87% of the revenue comes from there. So all their eggs are in one basket. If that's good, if America does well, they're going to do well too. If they do slightly less optimal or bad, they're also going to suffer. Revenue-wise, they started at $6.4 billion, and they're growing pretty steady. You can see the merger happen right around here. And after that, again, more steady growth. It goes the whole way through until they get $14.8 billion in revenue this year. Surprise, surprise. The US refreshment beverages is the most profitable part. Income for operations was $3.2 billion. If any of you were wondering what the unallocated corporate costs were, that's common things like accounting, HR, because it's not specific to one segment. So they just kind of put it there and to account for it. By the way, this is not net income. There's still some other stuff you have to account for. And speaking of net income is not as steady. It's pretty raggedy, but it's positive and strong. Keurig makes money in a few different ways. I'm going to cover this one first because personally, I find it the most simple. First, they sell the machines or the appliances to customers, to businesses, anyone who wants one in their actual, wherever they are. And then they sell the K-Cup pods so that you can make the actual coffee. These can be bought online, at grocery stores, supermarkets, wherever really. By the way, they also do have some reusable ones where you can insert your own coffee in if you don't want to use the original pre-made ones. They were sued because they said that their K-Cups are recyclable, but the thing is, These are so small. Let's say you're on a garbage disposal line and trying to pick them out. You're probably gonna miss it. So they used to pay like $10 million. Fun fact, they also recently introduced an iced coffee machine. Moving on to the stock data. And before you judge, just let me explain. So, ignoring Keurig, they're all steady doing their own thing, and it ends off with the S&P at 154%, Pepsi at 60, Coke at 50, Nestle at 20, and Dr. Pepper at negative 65%. And you're probably asking, what exactly happened to Dr. Pepper? Normally, when a company pays out a dividend, it's like a couple percentage points of their stock price, but in this case, Keurig paid out a massive one, $103.75. That was around the time of the merger, and now they currently pay out a dividend of 2.63%. And by the way, here are the dividend plus stock price gains for Keurig, Pepsi, Coke, Nestle, and the S&P 500 index. SPY is the one I use, by the way. Their PE ratio for the trailing 12 months is 24. Coke, the big boy, is at 26, and Pepsi is at 28. Although Pepsi is also diversified in things like snacks. Video coming soon, by the way. As for Nestle, they're at 22, and they're also in things like pet food, not really completely related to drinks. Video also coming soon there. Their drinks are sold in a few ways. First of all, there are concentrates. That's mixed with water, sweeteners, and other things to make the actual drink. That's then bottled or put in cans and then sold to retailers and finally consumers. By the way, Walmart is 17% of their net sales. Dr. Pepper owns some bottling stations, but they don't have a full network like Pepsi and Coke do. So sometimes they do rely on them to actually make their bottles and cans for them. Another way that they sell them is through syrups. Those are then put into fountains and sold in whatever fast food place that they can put them in. Drinks are a pretty competitive industry to get into. They have a massive moat around them, but the thing is with Dr. Pepper is their foot is already in the door. But the question is, are they gonna kind of force the door open and slowly get inside the house? Or is their foot slowly gonna get crushed because the other players are big, they're cutthroat, and they have some very good drinks? This is my personal opinion, but I feel like the moat around the Keurig machines is actually even smaller. Because the thing is, their patent expired in 2012. So you can use any, even non-proprietary cups and put them in the machine and it should work too. And the thing is, those are lighter and easier to ship. For example, you can buy them online as compared to drinks. Like, are you really gonna ship them online? Because they're heavy and it's gonna cost a lot. I just wanna have a quick conversation about the coffee value. Because here's my thinking. If you're going to a cafe every single day, spending like $5 on a cup of coffee, it's better to get a Keurig machine. Because, well, here's the math. So let's say a pod costs $1, the coffee that you buy at the store costs $5. Every time you go and make your own little pod coffee, you save $4. The machine, let's say, is $100. 100 divided by 4, 25. So you make a return on your investment in 25 days. Yes, that is how I justified buying the actual machine for myself. That's what I call value. And yes, I am trying to get more people addicted to coffee because I don't really want to feel alone. Because I'm addicted and I don't think I can give it up anymore. Okay, jokes aside, they are stable, diversified, and their brands aren't really going anywhere anytime soon. And same thing for coffee. People are still going to drink that. Also, as the world just gets richer, well, you have more people to sell stuff to. But the downside is people are getting more conscious of their health. Wait, no. That's a good thing. Either way, they'll have to increase their healthy food offerings and rather drinks offerings. And okay, this is a bit of pure speculation on my part. I don't really know how many people are actually just gonna not drink some soda because they want to stay healthy. Like, when was the last time you were offered soda and said, no, I want to stay healthy? Maybe it's just because I'm young yet and I'm not really feeling it, but that's just a bit of speculation on my part. They also have to deal with some pretty fierce competition from Coke and Pepsi. Those are some big players and they're no joke. Environmental damage wise, it's no secret that K-cups and plastic bottles are not exactly great for the environment. So in the future, there might be some law that allows people to sue these companies for all the environmental damage, but that's something that you just be aware of. I save one of the biggest risks for last because this is one that you should definitely pay attention to. They rely on Coke and Pepsi to bottle some of their drinks for them too. Because as I mentioned before, they do not have a complete network. So they have to rely on their direct competitors, and often in those clauses, Pepsi and Coke can just cancel them at almost any time without cause. Their heart is in their hands. Their debt levels is something you should always pay attention to. It's pretty flat until they had the merger, and then after that it started to slowly come down year over year. But I'm sorry, what was that little jump? Well, they don't really add an explanation. And the thing is, I'm not immediately going to assume that their executives are stupid or dumb, so I'm just going to wait and take a look at the response when it comes out. The CEO changed this year from Bob Gamgore to Tim Cofer. If I pronounced any of your names wrong, my apologies. The former CEO was paid $8, $12, and $8 million from 2021 to 2023, and the current CEO was paid $25 million this year. This is basically just to cover the bonus from leaving his previous company and some other things. I feel like I have to mention this because as a shareholder, if you are a shareholder, you should know what exactly you're paying your leadership. Anyway, that's a rundown of Keurig. This is not investment advice. This is the annual report, some other stuff, bada bing, bada boom, video. If there's anything else you guys want to see, let me know down below in the comments. Like, sub, and if you guys want an actual investment guide, check out a reputable source like the SEC or talk to a financial professional. Peace, people.